welcome to this month's DIY Crafternoon. I'm Keri and I will be showing you how to make clay leaf bowls today. So if you picked up a kit from the library, you would have gotten a big chunk of clay, and then you would have also received instructions as well as 3 different colors of paint and a container of Mod-podge. We're doing this instructional video in 2 parts because our clay is air dry clay and we need to let it dry and cure before we paint it. So I'm going to do this first part now, and then you're going to see me in a completely different outfit and I will paint it and Mod-podge it. So you're going to take your clay out of your saran wrap and you're going to just kind of knead it a little bit, get any bubbles out of your clay that might be in there. It's fresh clay, so it shouldn't be too bad. You shouldn't have to do too much kneading. So then you're going to want to make sure that you grab a rolling pin. I have a little baby rolling pin here, a knife, and of course you need your leaf. So I'm using a hydrangea bush leaf. The instructions from Pinterest that I use, they actually suggested using this one because it makes a nice bowl shape, but you can use any shape that you would like. And you definitely want to pick your leaf right away before you start your bowl. You don't want to use an old one because it could get flaky and crunchy, and when you press it into your bowl, it's just gonna turn to dust. So you definitely want to pick a nice fresh leaf when you get started. So I am going to take my little rolling pin and I'm going to roll out my clay to a 1/2 inch thickness. And you could obviously use a large rolling pin, but I thought this was very cute and appropriate because I don't need a really big one. So you're going to have to kind of guess at what a 1/2 inch is. I'm not always the best judge of measurement, or you could get really serious and get out your ruler and make sure you have a 1/2 inch thick clay. And you also need to roll it out large enough for your leaf. Nice and smooth. Okay, now I think that's about, I don't know, 1/2 inch, maybe a little less. But it is large enough for my leaf. So I'm going to take my leaf, vein side down, and press it into my clay. There we go. I think that's the whole thing. So you want to press it down into the clay because you want those veins to really show once it's dried. And you're going to take your knife and you're going to cut around your leaf. And remove the excess clay. And your cut doesn't have to be perfect because we're actually going to be kind of fluting the edges a little bit when we get done cutting here. And now we're going to take our leaf off. Take it off with the little bit of stem that I had on there. We're going to peel it away. Oh, that turned out really neat. So hopefully you'll be able to see the nice veins of the leaf really transferred nicely onto the clay. And that's really going to look cool once we paint it. So now I'm going to just flute the edges a little bit. And I'm going to do my best here. I know that when I make a pie, I do a horrible job trying to crinkle my crust. So I'm going to try my best. But in order to make a bowl, you need to make edges. So. And you could always leave a little more. I cut mine pretty close to my leaf. You could always leave a little more around the edge if you'd like a larger bowl, or if you want to see the whole leaf indentation or print. If your clay happens to be drying out, this is nice and wet yet, but you can always have a bowl of water handy to dip your fingers in and moisten the clay, and then it should become pliable again. If you got your kit at the library and you do this right away, I think it should be a-okay. Just finishing up, kind of making the walls of my bowl a little higher. And then I'm going to take it, gently remove it from my board here. I might have to do a little fixing to the edges. Not too bad, pretty good. And for it to create more of a bowl shape, you can lay it in a bowl to dry. So I'm going to attempt to do this here. I found a nice little bowl. So I'm going to fix it a little bit here in my bowl, because once it's dry, it's going to take on this shape here. So I'm going to fix my edges a little bit. You could do a shallower bowl if you want it more flat. Or you could do it flat with just the sides and make it kind of more of a tray instead of a bowl. Trying to get it nice and even here. Okay. All right, so I think that is very close to how I want it to be. So I'm going to let it dry. Now, I'm not quite sure how long this is going to take to dry. I'll know when we come back. My guess is it's probably going to take at least 24 to 48 hours to dry. So to do this project, you're going to have a few days to do it. So I will return when it is dry to paint and seal it. Hi everybody, we are back. I'm even in a completely different place. My clay leaf has dried and I am now about to paint it. When it did dry, it was very fragile around the edges. So where I crimped the edges, it was very fragile. I'm gonna show you here in just a second. I'm gonna move my camera so that you can see my leaf instead of me talking. All right, so here's my clay leaf. As you can see, like the tip broke off when I moved it. So it's kind of fragile if you don't make it thick enough, and the tip of my leaf wasn't thick enough. So, and when some of the parts that I crimped weren't thick enough, so that 1/4 inch thickness is really important. So what I did is I just kind of broke them off and like just kind of sanded it down with my finger. I didn't even really need to do much more than that. So I'm going to paint it now. And then once it's dry, you just have to paint over it with a clear coat or two of the Mod-podge that was provided. So I am doing a color palette of green and brown for mine. If you did get a kit, you will have gotten 3 different colors, but I'm gonna just go with 2 today. So you're just gonna paint it on like you would anything else. And the paint really, really helps bring out that cool leaf print. And you can paint both sides of your bowl. You can paint one side of your bowl. Mine really turned into a bowl shape with the little bowl that I had put it into. So for right now, I'm just going up to the edges. I may change my mind and do the whole thing, but I'm just going to show you guys just the little bit of me painting. You don't really need to see me painting. I think you all know how. So I'm just going to paint along the edges, first in green, and then I'm going to add some accents in the gold. You will see that there is dust kind of coming up while I'm painting. That's kind of inevitable considering that it's air dry clay. You don't want to moisten it with water to wipe that off because it will moisten your clay. You don't want that. I did leave this dry about 3 days. I came back and it was dry. So I'm not sure if it was dry prior to that because I was not here at work. So, but it was definitely dry within that 3 days. So I'm using like a metallic green paint. If you got the kits, all the kits did have this cool metallic craft paint in them of various colors. All right, so I think I will end up painting my whole bowl. I'm gonna paint the back too, but I just wanted to show you guys how that really brought out the cool leaf pattern. I'm gonna add some gold to it. Let's see what happens there too. Just some accents. Maybe I'll cover it in that and see how that looks. It's kind of not quite sure how I wanted to paint it. Not quite sure how it would look. So Sometimes you gotta experiment. I think that makes the different, putting that extra layer of like the copper color on is actually making the veins of the leaf show even more. Kind of like that. But maybe I'll only do that copper color over it on the inside here. And then the rest will be just green on the outside. Give it a little more pizzazz on the inside, which is the really pretty part. So the copper, I need quite a bit of it to like show up. The green was one coat and that was good. The copper is kind of a little bit harder. So if you're using a gold or a copper or silver, you might need to use more of it than you did of a different color. If you have a red or a green or a blue. I think that looks pretty red. You guys can see how that copper really brought that green out. It looks very cool. So I'm going to finish up my leaf. I'm going to paint the other parts of it green, and then I'm going to put Mod Podge on, and I will come back and show you the finished product with the Mod Podge coating in just a little bit. All right, and we have finally finished our leaf bowl. I have painted it on both sides, and I have put on the Mod Podge. If you got the kit from the library, you would have gotten a small container of white, looks like glue, Mod Podge. You're going to put a coat or two of that on your leaf bowl in order to seal it so that your paint won't chip off. I did one coat, but you could definitely do more. And if you did not get a kit from the library, you can buy any type of Mod Podge. This is just the type that I happened to buy because it was the one I could find in the largest container here for the library. But any Mod Podge will work, and you can do matte or gloss. I did gloss so that it would kind of bring out some more of that shine of the glittery paint or the metallic paint. So, like I said, we have our bowl finished and ready for us to put out. I want to thank you guys for joining me again this month for DIY Crafternoon. Next month, we will not be having an instructional video. We will still be having kits available at the library. Our craft next month is clay pot scarecrows. So we're using the little mini clay pots to make cute little scarecrow decorations. There will be detailed instructions in the kits, but there will be no video next month. Thank you guys for joining me, and happy crafting.